Good morning, my dear students. I am Dr. Deepak More, Assistant Professor of English, Sanjani Mahavidyalaya, Chapoli. Today, we are going to study about the organs of speech. Point number 1, Introduction. For the production of speech sounds or any sounds, there must be some disturbance in the air. Such disturbance in the case of speech sounds is provided by the movement of certain organs of the body such as the muscles of the chest, the vocal cords, the tongue, the lips, and so on. This disturbance in the form of sound waves travels to the ear of the listener, who interprets the waves as sounds. The organs of the human body which produce speech sounds are together called organs of speech. Speech, according to one view, is only the secondary function of these organs, their primary functions being breathing, chewing, eating, smelling, tasting, and so on. According to another view, speech is essential a function of these organs as are the other functions. This controversy notwithstanding, we can use the phrase organs of speech to refer to these organs, for this is a well established phrase in all writings of phonetics. The organs of speech and their speech functions can best be described under three systems, or it is divided into three parts. These are as follows. Number 1, the respiratory system. Number 2, the phonatory system. And third one, the articulatory system. We now discuss these systems also. Then number 2, the respiratory system. The respiratory system comprises the lungs, the muscles of the chest, and the windpipe. The lungs, as we know, perform the function of breathing or respiration under the action of the muscles of the chest. Under such action, when the lungs are compressed, they throw the air out, and when they expand, they draw the outside air in. The former process is a breathing out or exhalation, and the later breathing in or inhalation. In both cases, the air passes through the trachea. The role of the respiratory system in relation to the production of speech sounds is as follows. Through the process of breathing, the system provides an air stream that acts as a source of energy. Without an air stream, no amount of activity on the part of speech organs can produce a sound. Now, it is not that only the lungs can provide an air stream for the production of speech sounds. Certain other organs can do so too. But it is the airstream provided by the lungs that all languages of the world use. Some do exclusively and others mainly. Further, it is the airstream initiated by the air exhaled from the lungs that is chiefly used for the speech production. The airstream mechanism is called pulmonic aggressive airstream mechanism. Pulmonic is the adjective from lungs, and aggressive airstream means the stream of air going out of the lungs. English and all other European languages, as also all Indian languages except Sindhi, use only the pulmonic aggressive airstream mechanism. Then next point, the phonatory system. Point number 3, the phonatory system. The airstream released by the lungs undergoes several modifications before it goes out into the atmosphere. The first such modification is effected in the trachea. If you try to produce the sounds at the beginning of the English words, that is, for example, seal and zeal, that is, the s sound and z sound, one after the other, you will notice that there is a certain hum in the Z sound, that is the hum, which is not heard in the S sound. This hum is the result of some modification in the trecha. Then fourth point, the larynx or production of speech. The production of speech is a complicated process. The organs of speech are the same in all human beings. For the production of speech, we need an airstream mechanism. All sounds in English are made by an egressive. The egressive means that is फुफ्फुसातून बाहेर पडलेली हवा. Pulmonic airstream, that is the air pushed out of the lungs through the mouth or nose or both also. During the production of speech sounds, the lungs, the vocal cords, the soft palate, the tongue, the teeth, the lips play important role, or they can play dominant role. Blade of the tongue, including tip, including tip also. Tongue is in a position of rest. Front of the tongue, position of rest. Back of the tongue, then root of the tongue, epiglottis, food passage and windpipe. Then larynx. Larynx is situated at the top of the windpipe and containing vocal cords. Then vocal cords, a pair of lips placed front to the back horizontally in the larynx also. In the upper part of trachea is a structure called the larynx, formed of muscle. Its primary function is to act as a valve when necessary. It closes off the air from and to the lungs and also prevents food etc. from entering the trachea. Its front part is prominent in the neck and is commonly known as the Adam's apple. That is why the larynx is also called the Adam's apple. It contains two vocal cords. They are like pair of lips placed horizontally from the front to the back. They are joined in the front but can be separated at the back. The opening between them is called as a glottis. Then there are two types of vocal cords. These are as follows. Number one, there are two types of vocal cords. These are as follows. Number one, the vocal cords are open. That is why the diagram number 1. Then the vocal cords are closed. The diagram number 2. When the vocal cords are drawn wide apart, there is a wide opening between them called the glottis also. Through the opening, the air can pass freely without setting the vocal cords into vibration. This is the normal position of the vocal cords during the process of breathing. The speech sounds produced when the vocal cords are in this position do not have the hum we spoke of earlier. They are called voiceless sounds. When the vocal cords are held loosely together, that is figure number 2, the air from the lungs can escape only by setting them into vibration. Such vibration imparts hum to the sounds produced, which are then called voiced sounds. Example of voiced sounds are all English vowels and the initial consonants in the English words bed. Bed, for example, dad, get, jug, nest, read, etc. In these words, some other consonants are also called voiced consonants. All languages have voiced as well as voiceless sounds. Originally, all vowels are voiced sounds. As for consonants, some are voiced, others are voiceless. The distinction between voiceless and voiced sounds can easily be felt in the case of the sounds that can be lengthened The S sound and Z sound constitute one such pair. Put your finger on your Adam's apple and produce a prolonged S sound. You will feel no vibrations on your finger. Now perform the same experiment with Z sound. This time you will feel vibrations on the finger. The vibrations felt on the fingers are the result of the vibrations of the vocal cords. Thus, the vocal cords vibrate when you produce the Z sound. They do not when you produce S sound. Therefore, Z sound is voiced and S sound is voiceless. Vocal cords held tightly together. When the vocal cords are held tightly together along their whole length, the glottis is closed and therefore no air can escape through it. This is the position the vocal cords must take at the time of eating or drinking so that no food or no liquid enters the windpipe. Proceeding from this position, when the vocal cords are suddenly drawn apart, an explosive sound called the glottal stop is produced. Such a glottal stop, which resembles the sound of a mild cough, may be found to occur in front of a forceful articulation of a word initial vowel as in the English words. For example, act or empty or uncle. In the speech of some Englishmen, it can also occur in a place of the p, t or k sound when these sounds occur finally in words as in lip, shut, chick.